Am I the a-hole for ditching the plan to make my sister-in-law's wedding dress? Here's the scoop. I'm a 24-year-old seamstress and dress designer, hustling for private clients. 2 years back, when my sister tied the knot, I gifted her with a custom-designed wedding dress, made by yours truly, at zero cost. And that's not all. I even whipped up all her bridesmaid dresses, covering the cost of those fancy materials too. My brother's then-girlfriend, now fiancée, was in the wedding party and knew all about my dressmaking plans before I even started designing. She popped the question about whether I'd make her dress for her upcoming wedding with my brother. I agreed without much thought, even though I was already swamped making 2 gowns, one for my sister and another for her 5 bridesmaids. Working for Jimenez was a breeze, but dealing with my brother's girlfriend? Total nightmare. She constantly asked for changes even after we had finalized the designs and I'd begun making the dresses. Worse, she'd cancel or just not show up for her fittings. She was always complaining, saying the dress looked tacky and unprofessional, and she even deliberately tore the fabric. When I finally put my foot down and said no more changes, I found myself on a wild goose chase, trying to find more of the exact same fabric in the right color. The store where I originally bought the fabric had stopped carrying it. Then, just 2 weeks ago, my brother proposed, and the very first thing his fiancée did was rush over to me to ask when we could start designing her dress. Now, I've been around the block in my career. I've dealt with all sorts of brides, divas, and control freaks, and I've learned how to handle them. So, I told her when she could come to my studio for a consultation. Her appointment was last week, and she showed up all bubbly and excited. However, the mood quickly changed when I presented my price list and the various options available to her. She flew off the handle, arguing that it wasn't fair to expect her to pay, especially since we're family and I had done others' dresses for free. I calmly explained that I charge for my work, just like any other vendor she'd hire for her wedding, but I assured her we could look at the most affordable package I offer. When I mentioned the cost, she completely lost it. She started screaming at me, calling me worthless, claiming my work wasn't good enough for her, and even said that she was doing me a favor by giving me this opportunity. I attempted to calm her down so we could have a rational conversation, but she only escalated, eventually knocking over one of my display cases. The glass shattered, scattering beads and expensive jewelry everywhere. The floor was littered with the aftermath. That was the final straw for me. I yelled at her to leave my studio immediately, threatening to call the police if she didn't. Later that same day, my brother called, furiously accusing me of being unwelcoming and rude to his fiancée. I explained to him that I was more than willing to make her gown and the bridesmaids' dresses, but it had to be at a fair price. But he got even more upset and said that I had done our sister for free, so I should do this one for free to now. My parents and brother are mad at me, threatening to leave me out of the wedding if I don't make her a free dress. But I still think I should be paid for my work. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I don't disagree with you, and she is reprehensible, and you're entitled to be paid for your work, and she should pay for the damage that should cost it. I understand you not wanting to live to thank her for now, but I am curious as to why you made a dress as a gift for your sister. But would it do the same for your future sister-in-law? Think about it. Making the dress would be like a huge present for your brother, right? But is the real reason you're backing out just because she's such a nightmare to deal with? I totally get it if that's why dealing with someone like her is more than enough reason. But still, I'm curious. It feels like making the dress could have dodged a whole bunch of family drama, doesn't it? Like dodging a bullet, not Ebola level, but still significant? And there's another thing. My sister and I are super tight. We're twins after all. Back in the early days of setting up my studio, she was my rock, always there to lend a hand. It's a bit different than just any family member asking for a favor, you know? I adore my sister and wanted to give her something unique and personalized. Dressmaking is my forte, so naturally that's what I chose to give her. But with my sister-in-law, it's a different story. Making her dress for free would be an incredibly expensive gift, from the cost of materials to the labor involved. It's a significant investment. And honestly, I don't feel that we have the kind of close relationship that would warrant such a substantial gift from me. It is thousands of dollars in materials and potentially hundreds of hours of construction, not to mention the time that could have been years and other potential commissions. My workers' wages and her potential to be a bridezilla and make my work life miserable. Not at all. Print out a receipt for damages and give it to your brother and family that included prices for your skills and material. Then hit them with another bill, a hefty deposit to cover any future damages. Think of it like a flashback to all the chaos. Question them. Who's going to cough up the cash for all that mess? Because there's no way on earth it should be you footing that bill. And here's a pro move. If you know any other top-notch dress designers, Pass along a secret warning so they know exactly what hurricane they're signing up for if they agree to work with your future sister-in-law. She needs to learn a seriously pricey lesson about respect and professionalism. But I'm in a hole like that. I'm thankfully at this stage of life where I don't care about being nice, her keeping the peace. If she refuses to pay damages, take it to small claims court. Yeah, get her served at the wedding. It'll be your give to them. This is the ultimate petty revenge. Should I love it? Having a process server. Imagine waiting for the objection part of the wedding vows and then casually strutting down the aisle to confront her. Picture the scene. There's bound to be someone at the wedding snapping a photo of my sister-in-law's shocked expression when that moment hits. And now for an update. First off, a big thanks for all your comments, whether they were thumbs up or thumbs down. They've genuinely helped me understand where I went wrong, how I could have managed the situation better, and what steps I should take moving forward. So as many of you suggested, I sat down with my parents and brother and told them to story from my perspective, from how sister-in-law behaved 2 years ago, through what happened at my studio last week with a CCTV footage has proof. They were shocked because, as many of you suggested, sister-in-law had been spinning lies to cover up her faults and had been completely pulling them right away. My parents apologized for how they treated me, and my brother became very quiet. I told him that I would not be making her a dress anymore, regardless of if she would be willing to pay. But if he wanted, I could make him as smooth for the wedding and my own time, since my studio specializes in women's wear. My brother thanked me and laughed. The day after the whole fiasco, my sister-in-law called me, absolutely livid. She demanded to know what kind of manipulation or lies I had fed my brother to make him put their wedding on pause. It turns out, after our confrontation, he had gone home and told her he was deeply disappointed in how she had treated me. He said he needed time to reflect on whether marrying someone who could behave like that was the right choice. So we put the wedding on hold. Sister-in-law was so mad. She came to my apartment and banged on my door for a good half hour, but I refused to open the door for her. She was screaming so loudly. One of my neighbors ended up calling the cops for noise disturbance, and she was escorted to the police station. I don't know what happened to her after that. Yesterday, my brother came over to my apartment and we had a long talk. It turns out some of you were right, and he did feel left out and hurt by my actions. Since my sister is my twin, he has always felt like we both care a lot less about him than each other. So we ended up getting my sister on the phone. She's living in a whole different country now. The three of us dived into this intense, super emotional talk that lasted for ages, with more than a few tears shed. I made it crystal clear to my brother just how much I love him, like to the moon and back, and that nothing on earth could change that. We wrapped it up with a big, heartfelt hug. Now I think our bond is stronger than ever. To seal the deal, I even put in writing that I'll tailor his wedding suit, totally free of charge. It's my way of showing him he's more than just a client to me. He's my brother, and that means the world. After I promised, he told us that he no longer wants to marry sister-in-law and that he has already started looking for a new apartment. He said a decision was not easy, but ultimately he wants to marry someone who can feel at home and a family, not someone who makes his family uncomfortable. So when he does find a right one, I will be making him and not hurt. Wedding attire. Thank you all for your help and advice. I will not post any other updates because I believe this matter will be over now. I have made custom wedding gowns. People always think they're going to get a one-of-a-kind over-the-top dress, but for just a few $100, even after they see how much the fabric and delays cost, they think you should do the work for free. Get this, OP isn't just being stingy about making the wedding gown, but she's also bailing on creating a whole squad of bridesmaid dresses. Picture this. A relative once made me a dress as a gift, and just the fabric and lace alone cost about $400. And that was 20 years ago. We're not even talking about the insane number of hours of labor and all those fitting sessions. Crafting a dress for a major event like a wedding can rack up costs easily into the thousands. We're talking big bucks for just one dress, let alone an entire bridal party. I think people underestimate how expensive it is to get good quality white fabric. The reason why the little black dress is a classic is partly because even cheap fabric looks pretty good in black. The fact that light doesn't reflect off heads makes it look obviously much smoother than it really is. White shows up all the texture of the fabric so you can really tell the quality or lack thereof. More proof. I think that some people think that a person's value is the same as therapy, for this term has been provided. Luckily, 2 brothers had issues before the wedding and everything was done. Selfish, disrespectful. People like sister-in-law always show their true colors eventually. When she decided to get married into a loving, functional family, it really was just a matter of time until she butt heads with someone and showed her fiancé who she really is. Poor OP got the short end of the stick because her sister-in-law picked her close buddy over her. Talk about a slap in the face. And then there's the brother choosing his awesome family over a problematic fiancé. Now, for the last story update. Am I the bad guy for ditching my best friend's wedding? Let me lay it out. I'm a 28-year-old woman caught up in some seriously intense wedding drama. My best friend, who's 29, just got engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. Man, I was over the moon. But then, things took a turn for the crazy, and now I'm right in the middle of this wedding chaos. We've been inseparable since kindergarten, and I was ready to make her big day unforgettable. I spent nearly $700 on her bachelorette party, buying cut outfits for everyone, and renting a party bus with all-you-can-drink drinks. The other girls pitched in, but I'm too most financially stable, so the majority fell on me. I helped plan a wedding of her dreams. I was basically her right-hand person, helping out with everything from contacting vendors to setting dates when she was swamped. I even designed the save the date and invitation cards. What I'm getting at is, I really poured my heart into helping her. But then, just 2 weeks before the big day, my best friend dropped a bombshell. She asked me to step down and announced that her future sister-in-law would be taking over as the maid of honor. I was angry, and we got into a huge argument over this where I admittedly had said things I wasn't proud of. Since then, I've received texts from our friends, Matt's friends, family, the groom's family, and even sister-in-law telling me that I'm a drama queen who needs to get over herself and that it isn't about me. This has really gotten to me, and I need to know what I do wrong. All right, let's dive into the top comments before we hit the updates. Everyone's saying you're definitely not the bad guy here. Think about it. She decides to ditch you as her maid of honor after you've done a mountain of work and splashed out loads of cash for her wedding. So it's only fair that you get to change your mind about even showing up at the wedding, right? And here's the big question. Did she ever bother to explain why she suddenly wanted you to step down? It's like a mystery waiting to be solved. Sister-in-law is an introvert and might never get to be a maid of honor. While I have a large friend group and might be a maid of honor at one of their weddings, I'm fairly introverted, but that's such a weird reason. She closed her future sister-in-law. I feel like that justification is a bit of a cope-out. By the way, you are not able to stick with it. That's no way to treat a friend who has spent money for your wedding that you've basically known your entire life. She isn't particularly close to sister-in-law and even would complain about her at times. Sister-in-law is the youngest member of the nearby extended family. She's 18. Turns out my friend felt that her sister-in-law was being coddled. But wait, there's more. Did I ask for any financial compensation after being booted from the maid of honor role? It's like the ultimate bait and switch, right? Nope. I didn't ask for a dime at first. But when I finally did try to get back some of the cash I'd spent, guess what? She blasted me, calling me money hungry, and accused me of never saying that my help was conditional on anything. Talk about a backstabbing move. Well, apparently it was conditional since you were asked to step down. Have you talked to sister-in-law once or twice before this went down? She has been texting and calling me to tell me what a self-centered jerk I am, but haven't replied. The financial burden is a major part of accepting the role. I'm so sorry. This BS is happening. Never mind not attending. I'd probably walk away entirely from this relationship. And would it burn bridges if I can help it? In case there's some behind-the-scenes manipulations, lies should be happening below contact for sure. This is cruel and selfish of them. Not actually. I don't consider behind-the-scenes abuse. From what I have seen of the fiancé. He's a really kind and sweet guy, and he treats her well. But I don't have much insight into his family dynamics. I'm planning to have a heart-to-heart with my friend once things cool down a bit. Thanks a bunch for all your advice and opinions. Now, for a quick update to shed some light on a few things. I ended up asking for $200 back out of the money I spent. The reason I didn't ask for the full $500 is because that was actually a payback for when she covered my rent in college for a month. Hadn't paid her back sooner because she requested I use it for a bachelorette. She's been dating her fiancé for 8 years, and we're waiting to be more financially stable before getting married. So I called her this morning and asked to talk. She agreed, and we set up a meeting on Thursday at a local coffee shop. I'm a bit concerned because she sounded really shy. Any of us want a phone. Hopefully that goes well and I can do an official update with happy news. Thank you so much for your advice and comments. Now for the full update. Hi, everyone. This is an update to my previous post, which you can find on my profile. First, I just want to thank everyone again for how kind and supportive you have all been, but also how honest I took everything to heart, and everyone's advice was great. Now on to the update. I met up with my friend yesterday morning around 9 a.m. at this little coffee shop in town. She looked rough. Her hair was a greasy mess, and she had these deep, dark bags under her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. When I asked her what was up, she just kept apologizing. I pushed for more details, and eventually she spilled the beans. Turns out, her in-laws are a real nightmare. Apparently, they've been harassing her for nearly 3 years about having sister-in-law as the maid of honor at the wedding. And when my friend chose me, they went ballistic. My friend said she thought she'd be able to handle it until the wedding day. But then, mother-in-law threatened to ruin her wedding unless his turn-in-law was the maid of honor. Her friend panicked, and that's when she told me I would no longer be maid of honor. She apologized for the money-hungry comment and said that she was chosen such an awful place mentally that hearing me mention the money made her really upset. The reason all our friends were attacking me is because they knew about the mother-in-law's situation. My friend had been keeping an earth-shattering secret from me, a secret so spine-tingling that she feared it would shatter our friendship forever. You see, she concealed it because she didn't want me to back away due to her overbearing mother-in-law, but little did she know, I was completely clueless about the jaw-dropping truth. Meanwhile, her fiancé, well, he harbored a dark, sinister secret of his own, one that could potentially rip apart his already fragile relationship with his own mother. It was a ticking time bomb of shocking revelations, and my dear friend was doing everything in her power to keep it from detonating. When she finally spilled the beans, the shockwaves of that revelation hit me like a freight train, leaving me in a state of bewilderment and disbelief that I couldn't shake off for days. I didn't know she was enduring 3 years of harassment because of me. I immediately apologized and she apologized and we both cried a lot. When the tears topped, she pulled out an envelope with $200 and gave it to me. I originally refused, but she insisted, so I took it. I encouraged her to tell her fiancé because keeping of hers from him wasn't helping anyone. But if he decided to cut off mother-in-law, then that was his decision, not hers. After talking a lot more about future boundaries, our friendship, and a wedding, I decided I would go to the wedding and we'd still be friends. I know my friend didn't handle this in the best way, but I have known her for over 2 decades, and she's practically my platonic soulmate. At first, I thought it was just a minor hiccup, something not worth making a fuss over. But let me tell you, things took a jaw-dropping turn. Picture this. I was all set to share my updates, just like I always do, but right when I was about to spill the beans, my phone buzzed with a text that rocked my world. It was my friend, and her message was nothing short of explosive. Her fiancé had gone and invited his mom, practically half the family, and even his sister-in-law to the party, all because of how they had treated my friend and me before. Can you believe that? But here's the kicker. She asked me to step back into the role of the maid of honor. And guess what, guys? I said yes without a second thought. It's like we're in the middle of an epic plot twist that's about to unfold, and I can hardly contain my excitement. Buckle up because this story is far from over, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I just want to give a final thank you to Reddit for helping me through this, and I hope all of you have a nice night. Wow, what an emotional roller coaster. It's amazing to see how your friendship has stood the test of time and endured through this difficult situation and takes a lot of strength to forgive and move forward. And I truly admire that. Wishing you all the best for the wedding and kudos to the fiancé for taking a stand against a toxic behavior. Reddit really came through with some solid advice. As always, stay strong. Have things been clarified with the other friends? And did they apologize to you by all of this? It is nice that a bride apologized, but it is also on her to clear the air with other friends and help make amends between them. I can sympathize with the stress Brad was under, but it does not negate the hurt done to Opie by their other friends because of her actions. I genuinely cannot fathom planning your wedding with someone who either couldn't or wouldn't openly communicate about stuff like this, right? If a boyfriend's family did have this crap to me, I'd want to tell him first and he'd better do something. Otherwise, I'm gone. Not an ultimatum, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm not going to beg or train a partner to treat me with respect.